Okay. I'm here with David McLaughlin. Um, just the program itself, bringing it back in the Bahamas. How important is it that we relive something that was so once so dead to the country in the past?
Well, I think you can't buy heritage. You have to own it. You have to have it. So you've got something that was created back in 1954 to 1966, and it genuinely did put Nassau and Bahamas on the map that in those days. It was one of the biggest motorsport events in the world. I often refer to it as the World Cup of motorsport because the Europeans used to come over and the Americans would come down and they'd have a playoff. And it was something to do with a lot of parties as well.
And do you know any current professional drivers or past professional drivers that came up in this kind of grassroots system?
Virtually everyone. Most of the world champions these days, and people in Formula One certainly. Lewis Hamilton, for example. Lewis is now twice world champion. He's the current Formula One world champion. Lewis is the first black world champion. His roots are in Grenada, and he's an amazing success story. He started driving karts when he was 4 years old. His dad had 3 jobs to support him. He came from very humble beginnings, and now he just signed a contract with Mercedes-Benz, $100 million.
And outside of karting, in terms of, I guess, pit crew work, mechanic work, what are the rates of people that come from these programs, them working with various dealerships and around the world?
Well, take Edukarting for a moment. We've got a young man who came to the project 3 years ago, and I wrote out a reference for him yesterday, and I think he's almost certain to get a job with one of the Bahamian car dealers, because being in Edukarting, he could see the fun side of it, and it inspired him for that. But generally speaking, a lot of females now, a lot of women, not just drivers but technicians, especially in the modern computerized world. I mean, in racing, it's not oily rags anymore. You know, it's really high tech, clean stuff. And the opportunities are really endless.
And in terms of the next 2 camps coming up next month, what should, I guess, kids coming out expect to learn in terms of not only karting, but, as you said, responsibility and learning things outside of the kart?
Well, one of the things that Minister Jerome Fitzgerald has been particularly keen on is that we track the kids, we track their school performance, and an above average number of them have gone on to be prefects, so we can actually see that there are benefits by giving them something to aspire to. So a lot of it's about teamwork, and a lot of it, I think, is about learning that they can do things, because it's hard sometimes to really raise yourself above and realize the potential you have.
Just one last question. When the track is built, because I don't want to say if the track
No, when
is
is good.
what are the chances of having one of the lower tier races come down here to the Bahamas?
It's not a very well-known fact, but in 1959, the first ever World Championship kart race was held here in Nassau. And it's lost in the mists of time as to just why that happened. But when the competitors arrived here, they realized they had many competitors, and they had to put numbers on the carts, and they didn't know how to do that. So they literally cut up some metal sheets, put them on the nose of the carts, and put the numbers on them. And from that day to this, they're known as the Nassau plate. So if you ask any one of literally millions of kids around the world, what is that on the front of your go-kart, they'll say it's a Nassau plate. They may not know why or where Nassau is, but it's already there. So one of the first things I've done is I have an agreement in principle with the world governing body of karting that they would bring the go-kart world championship back here in 2019, which is 60 years after the first one. From there on, who knows? It's a long haul, and motorsport's very competitive in terms of organising big events these days, but it can be done.